The Boston Celtics, fellas, are making money moves because they're not in it just to make the finals. No, they want to get their 18th title. And they started off by signing Danilo Gallinari to a 2-year deal after the Spurs traded for him. Danilo
But
is a player that stayed healthy last year for the most part, played over 60 games. His scoring shot up to 11 points, but still a big guy that can shoot it. What it reminds me of is Nemanja Bjelica when the Warriors signed him a year ago. But this is a 2-year deal. Keep that in mind. Danilo can pass in space, and he's got size. You throw him in a defense full of elite guys, well, he'll be the target. You can say to yourself, well, he can play 15 minutes, 17 minutes, spying off the bench. But the bigger move was acquiring a guard that I've been longing for in Boston. Long time now. One of Jaylen Brown's best friends, one of the league's best shot makers, one that was awesome for 3 years in Milwaukee, playing off the ball, making shots off of Giannis. He doesn't take anything away defensively. Wasn't really a grade A playmaker coming out of Virginia, but he could pass it really well. Not going to make stupid plays, high IQ. Got size at 6'5", so he can play both one and a two. And beyond all those things that I just mentioned to you, he's tough. He plays hard, and he's not soft. For a contender, those are all the qualities you look for in Malcolm Brogdon. The Celtics acquired him for basically not very little. Aaron Neesmith, who was not really playing for them, didn't really work out in his 2 years spent in Boston. Just never was able to put it all together to make the rotation. Second year, Daniel Tice, who they traded a second time, and their 2023 first round pick, along with some other players who Nick Stauskas, Malik Fitz, and Jawan Morgan. Those guys weren't really playing for them. That down on the bench. Um, this move makes the Boston Celtics semi favorites in the Eastern Conference. The one thing that they needed was shot making, IQ, and offensive players that wouldn't take stuff away on defense. And while Gallinari will take things away on defense, Brogdon won't. And I think for them to add in the guard that could space it with size next to Marcus Smart and Derek White,
and I think you're
they'll have a
missing
hole.
playmaking too. That was the big thing. That was the narrative going in the finals. Whether you agree with it or not, the narrative going around was Boston is missing a playmaking point guard who can set everybody up and get these guys these shots. So they've got it now. So now it's time to prove to us that that was all you needed. A lot of people are probably screaming now. All the Boston fans are probably screaming now. Guess what? We're the favorites to win the championship this year because we basically still got our nucleus, and now we bring in Brogdon. And the free agency's not over. They could still sign some, veteran players and some role players to add into that bench lineup.
They're the new
So,
Brooklyn.
huh?
They're the new Brooklyn with that. They could sign all those veterans
Yeah.
for rin chase.
But I'd agree. Currently sitting right here today, what is it? July 3rd.
Third.
Damn it. By the way, everybody, when this comes out, I hope everybody had a great 4th of July. Have a
Should
great
mention that
4th
at
of
the
July.
end.
Everybody be safe. Drive safe. All right. Take an Uber. Call a friend. Have a great 4th of July, everybody. But currently sitting here on July 3rd, Sunday, 2022, I think the Boston Celtics are the favorites in the East. Free agency is not over. We're going to see what my Miami Heat are going to do, which I think there's still a
A little more left.
cooking coming up in there. What do you say?
A little more left for the
A
Heat.
little more left. Okay, I thought you
Pat
said something
Riley.
respectful, but it's all right. But yeah, and then Milwaukee's up there too. But I think Boston has filled out their roster. I think Brogdon was a great addition. I really do.
I think the Celtics are so deep, man. Such a deep team from their whole rotation. So I just look at this move, and while Brogdon does have his injury concerns, yeah, I mean he misses a lot of games since he's been in Indiana. I think with how deep they are, they can they can deal with that. They can handle him missing some games. He doesn't need to do too much. They still have Marcus Smart. They still have room to make a couple of more moves. I don't know. I love this move for Boston. I think it's very easy to make it to the NBA Finals once, and then you'll never be there again. There's no promise
Atlanta.
guarantees. Yeah, there we go. Atlanta ain't getting there for a long time. I'm sorry. Uh, but look at Miami. Miami made the finals. They've been hinting at it going back there, and they haven't been there since. But I look at this Boston team. Jason Tatum's still young. Jaylen Brown's so young. Brogdon young. I just think, man, this Boston Celtics team is primed to win championships for years to come, or at least contend for one for years to come.
One thing to add, you talk about their depth. Let's talk about it. Malcolm Brogdon is their sixth man. Derek White at the 7, Grant Williams at the 8, Peyton Pritchard. He's somewhere in that mix. He's a good guard that could space it. Good playmaker, smart decision maker. He's like trying to creep through all of like the guards and the veterans. He can't really see he's trying to like make his way into the rotation. He's good, and he's only 23, 24 years old. I think they might trade him just because they don't really
Yeah,
need that. Now they have a guard in Brogdon who's bigger. He's 29, so he's not like old. He's in the middle of his peak or his prime,
veteran.
veteran. And after Peyton Pritchard, I have Danilo Gallinari, who I mentioned. After that, it falls off cliff after those 9 guys. But like
But
we're
that's
talking
really
about,
only 9 men, especially when you're in the playoffs.
yeah,
You basically on 9. Not many teams do what Miami did. Miami can go 11 deep, but 9 is usually the magic number for teams in the playoffs.
that's what I was about to say. Like in the postseason, you're only going to play 7 guys, and so Gallinari he gets cut out. That doesn't matter. You have your 2 guards and Grant Williams. You can make the case they need a backup center, like a JaVale McGee who can just add some size if and when Robert Williams gets hurt because he's not very durable. And Al Horford, who they're going to bring back, Al Horford's 35, and they're thin there. Grant Williams, or he's 36. Al Horford. Grant Williams is good, but like you need more than that. If Rob's going to go out, you don't have Daniel Tice now as an insurance. So I think they're deep on the perimeter, but they need an extra backup big.
Yeah.
Last year, I had Aeneas Kanter, I keep calling him Enes Freedom, and Tice later in the year. I think they got to add maybe Bismack Biyombo. I'm not sure if he's been signed, but just some size that can play 10 15 minutes. To me, the only pause I had when I said they're the favorite is they didn't actually beat Milwaukee. They beat them without Chris Middleton, and
Yeah.
they were down 3-2 without Milwaukee's second best offensive player, and we tend to forget Middleton's turning 30. A little bit alarming, the fact he's only got a few more years until he's like 33, but they got to beat Milwaukee with Middleton before we can claim them as the champion of the East. Because like, dude, they didn't win the title. Milwaukee did, and you look at Miami. I think Boston still has just as much to prove as the Heat. I think those 2 teams are in that second tier. You got Milwaukee at 1. I think they have the most gravitas. The Celtics are a favorite because of the team they've built. I'm not a big fan of Milwaukee's offseason, I'll be honest with you. Not very
They
high on
haven't
it.
really done much. They haven't really done much.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the moves they made. But the Celtics moves getting Malcolm Brogdon, they have less gravitas. But I think with Brogdon coming into the mix, they're more complete than Milwaukee. We saw in the postseason, their role players weren't reliable when it came to the 3-point shooting. Wesley Matthews is 36. He's on a 1-year deal. He was signed midseason for them last year, was their second best defensive player in the wings. I don't know if for a full year if he can defend at a high level. I worry about him breaking down. They signed Joe Ingles using their mid-level. Joe Ingles was really bad last season. He can space it, he can pass it, but he came to camp out of shape, barely shot 34% from 3, which after a historical shooting season the year before was really alarming. Then he tore his ACL in January. And keep in mind, when he comes back, he's 35. He's going to be 35. And so I don't expect him to be back at the start of the season, Joe Ingles. And it reminds me a little bit of Dante DiVincenzo. You're now going to throw him back into the mix at some point in the year? I'm not a big fan of that. I think he did not play well for Utah. Defensively, he was not it. He struggled, was slower. Now he tore his ACL at his age. I don't think Joe Ingles really helps him much. He could shoot it and pass. And I think Javon Carter, he can provide a lot of those same qualities. And he's smaller, but he can actually really defend, and he's younger. And you can actually have him for the continuity complex in the start of the year. They re-signed Javon. I thought that was good.
I would say, I think from Milwaukee, I mean, I don't know what they can get, but I think looking into trading
Maybe PJ
Hol-
Tucker.
No, I'm talking. He's already signed with the Sixers, but yeah, they should have never lost him. But